everything is changing, and everything in its essence vibrates, energy, waves. And this body is, in our sensory scale, it appears something like solid and matter is there. But in reality, this is nothing but mass of energy and vibration. All cells, bones, cancer tumor, this and that is nothing but energy, waves, vibrations. These are gathered, floating, going up and down.
What if everything you think you know about how reality works is actually backwards? Not wrong, backwards. See, we've been taught that the physical world creates our experiences, that matter shapes consciousness, that what you see is what you get. But Dr. Michio Kushi discovered something that made certain powerful institutions very, very uncomfortable. Consciousness doesn't react to reality. It literally assembles it, particle by particle, through energetic patterns your body is broadcasting right now. And the moment he started teaching everyday people how to deliberately tune those broadcasts, his research got buried. His methods got labeled pseudoscience. His work disappeared from mainstream channels. Why? Because once you understand that your nervous system is an antenna, not a receiver, once you grasp that your bioelectric field is constantly voting on which version of reality crystallizes around you, you become ungovernable. And I know that sounds radical. I know that might trigger every skeptical bone in your body. Good. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't wishful thinking. This is quantum physics meeting 5,000 years of Eastern wisdom, validated by a Harvard-trained scientist who had the audacity to prove that your consciousness isn't locked inside your skull. It's a field extending outward, interacting with, influencing, and literally organizing the matter and events around you. Now, before we go any further, I need you to understand why this matters to you personally. Because you didn't click on this video by accident. Something in you is ready. Something in you knows that you've been living smaller than you're designed for. You've tried the affirmations, you've done the vision boards, you've read the self-help books, and maybe you got some results. Maybe you felt inspired for a few days or weeks. But then you slipped back into the same patterns, the same limitations, the same frustrating reality that seems to prove over and over again that you're stuck. And here's what I want you to know. You're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You've just been missing the actual mechanism. You've been trying to change your life from the outside in, when the real transformation happens from the inside out. And not just mentally, biologically, electromagnetically, quantum mechanically. Dr. Michio Kushi spent his entire life building a bridge between the mystical traditions of the East and the hard science of the West. He understood something that modern medicine still refuses to acknowledge. That your body isn't a solid, separate object bumping around in empty space. You're a dynamic, flowing pattern of energy and information, constantly exchanging signals with everything around you. And the quality of those signals, coherent or chaotic, loving or fearful, expansive or contracted, literally determines which version of reality you experience. Now, let me be very clear about what we're going to cover here, because I don't want to waste your time. If you're looking for quick fixes or magic spells, this isn't it. But if you're ready to understand the actual science of how your nervous system interfaces with the quantum field, if you want to know why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle in the same circumstances, if you're done being a victim of your past and you're ready to become the conscious architect of your future, then stay with me. Because what you're about to learn has been systematically suppressed, not because it's false, but because it's too true. Because once ordinary people understand they have this power, they stop being controllable. They stop being predictable. They stop being dependent on external systems to tell them what's possible. And that's exactly why Dr. Kushi's work got buried. So let me take you back. Let me paint you a picture. It's the late 1970s, And there's this quiet Japanese scientist living in Boston, teaching at universities, publishing papers that are starting to make waves in very uncomfortable ways. He's mapping the human energy system, what the Chinese call meridians, what the Indians call nadis, and he's showing with actual instrumentation that these aren't metaphors. These are measurable electromagnetic pathways in your body. And more than that, he's demonstrating that when you learn to consciously direct energy through these pathways, you can influence your biology in ways that shouldn't be possible according to conventional medicine. People are coming to his lectures, hundreds of them, and they're going home and practicing these techniques. Specific breathing patterns, specific postural alignments, specific meditative states, and they're reporting changes. Real, measurable changes. Not just feeling better, but actual physiological shifts that their doctors can't explain. And then something interesting starts happening. His research funding gets questioned. His university positions become complicated, and one day federal agents show up. Not to arrest him, not to charge him with anything, but to ask questions, to audit his work, to make it very clear that certain lines of inquiry are, let's say, discouraged. Now, I'm not here to spin conspiracy theories. I'm here to look at patterns. And the pattern is this. Throughout history, whenever paradigm-shifting knowledge threatens to decentralize power, institutional pressure appears. Galileo threatened the church's cosmology. They silenced him. Nikola Tesla threatened the profit models of energy monopolies. His work got buried. Wilhelm Reich explored the biological basis of life energy. They literally burned his books and threw him in prison. And Dr. Kushi? He threatened something even more fundamental. The belief that you're powerless, that you're a victim of your genes, your circumstances, your past, that you need external authorities, medical, governmental, institutional, to tell you what's real and what's possible. But here's what they couldn't erase: the techniques, the understanding, the actual mechanisms of how consciousness interfaces with matter. Because once you know how it works, you can't unknow it. Once you experience the direct feeling of your own electromagnetic field responding to your intention, once you witness synchronicities clustering around your coherent states, once you feel your biology shift in real time as you change your internal broadcast. That's not a belief system anymore. That's lived experience. So what did he actually discover? Let me break this down in a way that's going to make complete sense, even if you've never studied physics or Eastern philosophy. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field. This isn't mysticism. This is measurable with standard medical equipment. Your heart creates a field that's approximately 100 times stronger than your brain's electromagnetic field, and this field extends 15 feet in all directions around your body. Think about that. Right now, as you're listening to this, your heart is broadcasting an energetic signature that reaches across the room you're in, and everyone you encounter throughout your day is walking through your field, and you're walking through theirs. Now your brain also generates electrical activity. That's what an EEG measures. The waves of electrical firing happening between your neurons, and those electrical currents create magnetic fields. Again, measurable, not metaphorical. When you think a thought, when you feel an emotion, you're creating patterns of electromagnetic activity that don't stop at your skin. They radiate outward. Dr. Kushi was fascinated by this because the ancient traditions had already mapped this. The Chinese had documented the bioelectric pathways, the meridians that acupuncture works with, thousands of years ago. The yogis had mapped the chakra system, describing centers of energetic organization in the body. And what Kushi realized was that these ancient maps corresponded exactly with the electromagnetic properties of the body that modern science was just beginning to measure. But here's where it gets profound. He didn't just map the field. He studied what happened when people learned to consciously create coherence in their field. And coherence is the key word here. Let me explain what that means. Imagine you're in a room with 100 people and everyone's talking at once. Random conversations, different volumes, total chaos. That's incoherence. Now imagine a choir where 100 voices are singing the same note in harmony. That's coherence. Same number of voices, but totally different result. Coherent energy is organized. It's powerful. It's measurable. It can do work. Your body, most of the time, is like that chaotic room. Your heart rhythm is erratic, responding to stress and fear and worry. Your brain waves are scattered, bouncing between frequencies. Your thoughts are contradictory, wanting one thing, believing another, feeling a third thing entirely. And all of that creates an electromagnetic broadcast that's static, noise, incoherent. But when you learn specific practices, and Dr. Kushi gave us these practices, you can create coherence. You can get your heart rhythm smooth and ordered. You can synchronize your brain waves into specific frequencies. You can align your thoughts, emotions, and intentions into a single focused broadcast. And when you do that, the field around you changes, measurably, and that coherent field begins to organize reality differently. Now I know some of you are thinking, come on, that sounds like magic. How can my thoughts organize reality? And that's exactly the right question. So let me take you into the quantum realm for a moment, because this is where physics and mysticism become indistinguishable. In 1982, a physicist named Alain Aspect ran an experiment that proved something called quantum entanglement. He took two particles that had interacted, then separated them by a massive distance, and showed that when you measured one particle, the other particle instantly responded, faster than the speed of light. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, because it violated everything we thought we knew about how the universe works. How can two particles, separated by miles, instantaneously affect each other? But it's real. It's been proven over and over again. And here's what Dr. Kushi understood. Your body operates on this exact same principle. You're not separate from the things and people around you. You're entangled with them. Your electromagnetic field is constantly interacting with other fields. Information is being exchanged. Influence is happening. Not through physical contact, but through field effects. And it goes deeper than that. There's something in quantum physics called the observer effect. And this is where reality starts to feel like a choose-your-own-adventure story. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists showed that particles exist as waves of probability, meaning they're not in a specific location. They're in all possible locations simultaneously until the moment they're observed. The act of observation, of measurement, collapses that wave of probability into a single, definite particle. Read that again. The act of observation changes what's real. Now, mainstream science tries to keep this confined to the laboratory, as if it only applies to tiny particles. But Dr. Kushi asked a different question. What if your consciousness is an observation device? What if your focused attention is literally a measurement that collapses probability waves into experiences? What if where you place your attention, consistently and emotionally, determines which version of reality crystallizes around you? And he didn't just theorize about this. He taught people how to test it. He gave them protocols, specific breathing techniques that alter your brainwave states, specific visualizations that create emotional coherence, specific meditative practices that increase the measurability of your field effects. And people started noticing something strange. They'd practice these techniques, holding a specific intention with emotional coherence, and then synchronicities, unexpected encounters, resources appearing, opportunities manifesting, things that, if you only considered the physical actions they were taking, shouldn't have happened. But they did. Consistently enough that it couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. And that's when the institutional pressure started. Because teaching people that they're not victims of random circumstance, that they can consciously influence the probability field through intention and coherence. That's dangerous knowledge. That's ungovernable knowledge. Let me share something personal with you. Years ago, I was in a laboratory. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter when, but I was watching a researcher run an experiment with what's called a random event generator. It's a device that produces completely random outputs, ones and zeros, like flipping a coin electronically. And over time you expect a 50-50 distribution, right? Perfect randomness. But here's what they were testing. Could human intention influence this randomness? Could a person sitting near the device, focusing their attention with a specific intention, actually shift the output away from randomness toward order? And I'm watching this, skeptical as hell, because I was trained to think consciousness is just an epiphenomenon of the brain, right? Just neurons firing. No way it can affect anything outside the skull. But then the researcher asks me to try. She says, focus on the device. Hold an intention for the numbers to go higher. Don't force it. Just hold the intention with feeling. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, but fine. I'll play along. I close my eyes. I bring my attention to my heart center, like Kushi taught. I breathe slowly, creating that coherent rhythm, and I imagine the numbers rising. And more than that, I feel the satisfaction of seeing them rise. I let that feeling build in my chest until it's almost tingling. 2 minutes later, she says, "Okay, open your eyes." And I look at the screen. The distribution is no longer 50-50. It's shifted. Not massively, but statistically significantly. The ones are appearing more frequently than the zeros. And I'm staring at this graph, and something in my chest just cracks open. Because I can intellectualize quantum mechanics all day long, but in that moment, I felt it. My consciousness, my intention, my coherent field state had just influenced the behavior of electrons in a machine 3 feet away from me. And the researcher, she's just smiling this quiet smile, like she's watched this happen 1,000 times, and she says, "Now, you understand why Dr. Kushi's work was suppressed. Because if people knew they could do this, if they understood that their coherent intention could influence probability, organize events, affect outcomes, the entire control paradigm collapses." Now, understanding this intellectually and feeling it in your nervous system, that's where Dr. Kushi's genius comes in. Because knowledge without embodiment is just entertainment. You can know all about quantum physics and still live like a victim. You can study energy meridians and still broadcast fear 24/7. The transformation happens when you take this understanding and install it into your biology, into your daily practice, into the automatic functioning of your nervous system. And that's what his protocols were designed to do, to give you the actual tools to shift from incoherent broadcasting to coherent broadcasting, to train your body-mind to default to states of empowerment instead of states of survival. So let me give you a metaphor that's going to make this crystal clear. Imagine 2 tuning forks in a room. You strike one tuning fork and it begins to vibrate at, let's say, 440 hertz, the note A. Now, without touching the second tuning fork, it begins to vibrate too, at the same frequency, 440 hertz. Why? Because the vibration of the first tuning fork creates pressure waves in the air, and those waves cause the second fork to resonate in sympathy. This is called resonance. It's basic physics. And your body works the exact same way. When your heart is in a state of coherence, smooth, ordered rhythm, it's like a tuning fork, broadcasting a specific frequency. And that frequency resonates with similar frequencies in your environment. People in coherent states tend to find each other. Opportunities that match your coherent broadcast tend to appear. It's not magic, it's resonance. But here's the flip side. When your heart rhythm is chaotic, when you're stuck in stress and fear and survival mode, you're broadcasting that frequency too. And guess what resonates with that? More stress, more problems, more evidence that life is hard and you're a victim. Not because the universe is against you, but because you're literally tuning into that channel of reality. Dr. Kushi taught that you're not separate from your environment. You're in constant energetic negotiation with it. Your field affects other fields affect yours, and the person with the most coherent field has the most influence. Not through domination, but through resonance. Think about people you've met who just have this presence. You walk into a room and they're there, and somehow the whole energy of the room shifts. That's not charisma in some vague sense. That's a coherent electromagnetic field. That person has trained their nervous system to maintain states of coherence, and everyone around them begins to entrain to that frequency. You can develop this. This isn't a genetic gift. This is a skill. And Kushi gave us the training methods. Now, here's where it gets profound and a little unsettling. Because once you understand that you're broadcasting a frequency, and that frequency is organizing your reality, you have to take responsibility. You can't blame your parents anymore. You can't blame your circumstances. You can't blame the economy or the government or your bad luck. Because all of those things are real, but they're responding to the signal you're sending out. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. Trust me, I resisted this for years, because it's much easier to believe that reality is happening to you. That way you're off the hook. You don't have to change. You can just complain and wait for external circumstances to shift. But the moment you accept that you're the broadcaster, that your internal state is creating your external experience, that's terrifying and liberating at the same time. Terrifying because now you're responsible. Liberating because now you have power. And that's exactly why this knowledge got suppressed, because people who understand they're powerful don't wait for permission. They don't stay dependent on systems that promise to save them. They become sovereign. And sovereign individuals are unpredictable, unmeasurable, uncontrollable. Let me tell you what happened in the late 1970s and early 80s, when Kushi's work was gaining mainstream attention. He had students all over the world, people coming to Boston to study with him, and they were reporting impossible things. People with chronic conditions experiencing spontaneous improvements. People in dead-end careers suddenly encountering breakthrough opportunities. Relationships transforming, and not occasionally, consistently. And he was documenting this. He was collecting data. He was building a body of evidence that consciousness, when properly trained and directed, has measurable effects on physical reality. And this wasn't just qualitative, feel-good testimonials. He was working with medical doctors, physicists, mathematicians, people who understood research methodology, people who couldn't be dismissed as New Age flakes. And then the questions started. Government agencies asking about his funding sources. University administrators suddenly concerned about the scientific rigor of his work. Media coverage that was initially enthusiastic, turning skeptical, even hostile. Funding that had been flowing freely drying up. Now, was there a memo sent out saying, "Shut down Michio Kushi"? Probably not. That's not how these things work. It's more subtle than that. It's pressure applied at multiple points. Funding committees getting questions from higher-ups, peer reviewers suddenly finding methodological flaws in studies that had been accepted before, professional reputations getting quietly tarnished. And here's the thing, this isn't unique to Kushi. This is a pattern that repeats throughout history. Galileo wasn't just opposing the church's astronomy, he was threatening their monopoly on truth. Tesla wasn't just inventing new technologies, he was threatening the profit models of the energy industry. Wilhelm Reich wasn't just studying orgone energy, he was threatening the pharmaceutical paradigm of health. Kushi was threatening the belief that human beings are powerless. And there are entire industries, medical, pharmaceutical, financial, governmental, that require populations to believe they're powerless. Because powerless people are dependent. They're controllable. They're profitable. But empowered people, people who understand they can influence their health through coherence practices, people who understand they can attract opportunities through intentional broadcasting, those people stop being good consumers. They stop being predictable voters. They stop being manageable employees, and they become sovereign, and so the work gets buried. Not through overt censorship, that would be too obvious, but through funding cuts, credential questioning, institutional pressure, and the slow grinding machinery of the status quo protecting itself. But here's what they couldn't erase: the actual techniques, the understanding, the lived experience of thousands of people who learned these methods and proved to themselves that they work. You can suppress a person. You can suppress publications. But you can't suppress an idea whose time has come. And the idea that consciousness interfaces with the quantum field, that you're an electromagnetic being capable of influencing probability through coherent intention, that idea is spreading now faster than ever. Because we have the internet. We have quantum physics validating what mystics have taught for millennia. We have neuroscience explaining the mechanisms behind ancient practices. The truth is coming out, and you're part of that wave by being here right now. So what exactly did Kushi discover that was so threatening? Let me break down the actual science in a way that's going to reorganize how you think about yourself and reality. Your body is electromagnetic. That's not a metaphor. Your heart, right now, is generating a magnetic field measurable at 0.5 to 5 picoteslas. Now, a picotesla is an incredibly small unit, but it's measurable with equipment you can literally buy online. The HeartMath Institute has been studying this for decades. They've shown that your heart's electromagnetic field can be detected 15 feet away from your body with sensitive magnetometers. And your heart's field isn't just passive, it's informational. The pattern of your heartbeat, whether it's smooth and coherent or jagged and chaotic, creates different electromagnetic signatures. And those signatures affect your brain, your other organs, and the nervous systems of people around you. Your brain creates electrical activity every time your neurons fire. That's what an EEG measures. And those electrical currents create magnetic fields that extend beyond your skull. Not far, but measurably beyond. And here's what's wild. When you're in deep meditative states, when your brain waves synchronize into specific frequencies like theta or gamma, the coherence of your brain's electromagnetic field increases dramatically. Dr. Kushi mapped how these fields align with what the ancient Chinese called meridians and what the Indian yogis called nadis. And what he found was that these weren't just poetic descriptions. These ancient systems had identified real energetic pathways in the body. Pathways that correspond to the flow of bioelectricity, lymph, and neurological signaling. And when you learn to consciously direct your attention, your breath, and your emotional state through specific practices, you can create coherence between your heart field and your brain field. And when those two fields synchronize, something remarkable happens. Your overall electromagnetic broadcast becomes thousands of times more powerful and organized. This isn't metaphor, this is physics. The HeartMath Institute has published peer-reviewed studies showing that heart-brain coherence increases your immune function, improves your cognitive performance, reduces stress hormones, and even affects the DNA expression in your cells. But here's where it gets even more interesting. When your field is coherent, it doesn't just affect your biology, it affects your environment. Studies have shown that when groups of people practice coherence techniques simultaneously, there are measurable changes in local field effects. Random number generators become less random. Background electromagnetic noise becomes more ordered. Even violent crime rates in surrounding areas decrease. Now, mainstream science doesn't know what to do with this data, so they mostly ignore it. But the data is there. It's replicable. And it's pointing to something ancient wisdom has always taught. You're not separate from your environment. You're embedded in it. and your state of consciousness influences the field you're embedded in. So when you understand you're electromagnetic, the next question becomes, what are you broadcasting? Most people spend their entire lives unconsciously broadcasting whatever emotional state they've been conditioned into: fear, worry, resentment, victimhood. And they wonder why their reality keeps reflecting those states back to them. It's like they're tuned to a radio station playing the same sad song over and over, and they keep wondering why they can't hear different music. But you can change the station. That's what Kushi's protocols teach you. You can consciously shift your electromagnetic broadcast by shifting your internal state. And when you shift your broadcast, reality responds. Now let's go deeper into the quantum level, because this is where the mechanism becomes undeniable. In quantum mechanics, there's this phenomenon called the observer effect, and I touched on it earlier. But let's really explore it. The famous double-slit experiment showed that particles, electrons, photons, the basic building blocks of matter, don't exist as solid things until they're observed. Before observation, they exist as waves of probability, meaning the electron isn't here or there. It's in a state of potentiality, existing in all possible locations simultaneously. But the moment you measure it, the moment you observe it, that wave function collapses. The electron chooses a location and becomes a particle. And here's the kicker. The act of observation determines which location it chooses. The observer isn't passive. The observer participates in creating reality. Now, physicists have tried for decades to explain this away. They've said, well, it's just the measurement equipment interfering with the particle. But experiments have been refined to the point where that explanation doesn't hold. The act of conscious observation itself appears to collapse the wave function. And Dr. Kushi's insight was this. If observation collapses quantum probabilities in a laboratory, what's happening in your life? Your focused attention is an act of observation. And where you place your attention consistently, with emotional intensity, you're collapsing probability waves into experiences. Think about worry. When you worry, you're vividly imagining a negative outcome. You're observing it in your mind. You're feeling it in your body. And you're doing this over and over, sometimes hundreds of times a day. What are you collapsing? The very thing you're worried about. Not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, but because you're using the most powerful tool in the universe, focused, conscious observation, to create what you don't want. And here's the beautiful flip side. When you learn to imagine what you do want with the same emotional intensity, when you observe that desired future state in your mind, with feeling, with belief, with coherence, you begin collapsing probability in that direction. You're not making something appear out of nothing. You're selecting which already existing probability becomes your experience. This is why gratitude in advance works. When you feel grateful for something before it manifests physically, you're placing your observation on that future state. You're collapsing the probability wave in that direction. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. It fires the same neural networks, releases the same neurochemicals, creates the same electromagnetic broadcast. And the quantum field responds to that broadcast. Not because it's conscious in the way you're conscious, but because it's responsive to coherent observation. Kushi taught that reality isn't a fixed thing you're moving through. Reality is a probability field, and your consciousness is constantly voting on which possibilities become actualized. Most people are voting unconsciously from patterns of fear and conditioning installed in childhood. But you can learn to vote consciously. You can learn to observe deliberately. Now, here's where most people get stuck, and it's the most important thing I'm going to tell you today, so lean in. They try to think their way into a new reality. They use affirmations, they do visualizations, and maybe it works a little bit, but then it fades. They can't sustain it, and they think, see, this stuff doesn't work for me. I'm the exception. I'm broken. But you're not broken. You're just missing one critical component, feeling. Your body doesn't respond to thoughts. It responds to the feeling state those thoughts create. And here's why this matters more than anything else. Your electromagnetic field isn't generated by your thoughts. It's generated by your heart. And your heart responds to emotion, not logic. You can think positive thoughts all day long while your body is in a state of fear, and what you're broadcasting is fear. The thoughts are like trying to change the channel on a TV by thinking about a different show, while the remote is still tuned to the horror movie. You've got to actually feel the new state. This is where Neville Goddard's mystical insight meets Kushi's biological science. Neville said feeling is the secret. He said you must feel the reality of your desire as already accomplished. And he was right. But he was teaching from a mystical framework. Kushi explained the mechanism. When you generate a feeling state in your body, let's say gratitude, your heart rhythm becomes coherent. It shifts from a jagged, erratic pattern to a smooth, sinusoidal wave. And that coherent heart rhythm sends signals to your brain via the vagus nerve. Your brain responds by shifting into more coherent brainwave states. Alpha, theta, gamma waves synchronize, and together, your heart and brain create a unified, powerful electromagnetic broadcast. That broadcast has a frequency, and frequency is information, and the quantum field responds to information. You're literally programming reality with your emotional state. This is why affirmations fail for most people. They're saying words, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am loved. While their body is broadcasting the feeling of lack, and the body always wins, the quantum field responds to the frequency you're actually emitting, not the words you're saying. But when you learn to generate the feeling first, when you can create the emotional state of already having what you desire, your entire electromagnetic signature shifts. And now, you're broadcasting coherently. Now, you're collapsing probability in alignment with that feeling. Now reality has to respond, because you've changed the signal. Dr. Kushi gave us specific practices to generate feeling states on command. Posture, standing or sitting in specific ways that optimize your energy flow. Breath, particular breathing patterns that shift your nervous system from fight or flight into rest and digest. Visualization, not just seeing images, but embodying the experience sensorially. Movement, gentle exercises that stimulate meridian flow and create whole body coherence. These aren't just feel-good practices. These are technologies for reorganizing your bioelectric field. And when your field reorganizes, your reality reorganizes to match. Let me give you the actual mechanism step by step, so you can see how elegantly this works. You start with breath. Slow, deep breathing. 5 seconds in through the nose, 5 seconds out through the mouth. This immediately shifts your autonomic nervous system from sympathetic dominance, which is stress and survival mode, into parasympathetic activation, which is rest and restoration mode. When you're in parasympathetic mode, your heart rate variability increases. That means your heart rhythm becomes more flexible, more coherent, more ordered. And that coherent heart rhythm sends different signals to your brain. Your brain, receiving these ordered signals, begins to synchronize its own activity. Theta and alpha waves increase. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious choice and future planning, comes more online. Now you add focused attention. You bring your awareness to your heart center, literally the middle of your chest, and you imagine your breath flowing in and out of your heart. This isn't just imagination. This focuses your brain's attention on the electromagnetic activity of your heart, which amplifies the heart-brain connection. Then you add emotion. You recall a moment of genuine gratitude, a time when you felt truly thankful, truly blessed, and you relive that moment as vividly as possible. What did you see? What did you hear? What sensations were in your body? You let that feeling build until it's radiating from your chest. And here's what's happening biologically. Gratitude triggers the release of oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. These neurochemicals create a cascade of beneficial effects throughout your body. But more importantly, gratitude creates a specific electromagnetic signature in your heart field. And that signature extends outward, 15 feet in all directions, carrying information about your internal state. Now you're broadcasting coherently. You're in a state of heart-brain synchronization. Your field is organized, powerful, and informational. And quantum probabilities in your environment begin responding to that coherent field. This isn't mystical. This is biophysics. This is your electromagnetic antenna, broadcasting a clear signal instead of static noise. And the universe, which is fundamentally responsive to coherent information, begins organizing particles, events, and encounters to match your broadcast. But here's the catch, and this is crucial. You can't just do this once and expect your entire life to transform. Your body-mind has momentum. You've been broadcasting a certain frequency for years, maybe decades. You've wired neural networks around fear, lack, victimhood. You've created electromagnetic habits, and those habits have momentum. Changing your reality is like turning a ship. The bigger the ship, the longer it takes between turning the wheel and seeing the ship change direction. There's a lag time, and that lag time is where most people quit. They practice coherence for a few days or weeks, don't see immediate results, and conclude it doesn't work. But it is working. Every time you create coherence, you're installing new neural networks. You're creating new electromagnetic patterns. You're collapsing new probabilities. The change is happening at the quantum level first, then the biological level, and eventually it reaches the physical level where you can see it. Dr. Kushi taught that you must maintain the new frequency longer than you've maintained the old one for the transformation to stabilize. If you've been broadcasting fear for 20 years, you might need to practice coherence daily for months before the new pattern becomes your default. Not because the universe is slow, but because your biology has inertia. This is where most spiritual teaching fails people. They make it sound like you can think a new thought and instantly manifest a new reality. And when that doesn't happen, people feel like failures. But the truth is, your body is designed to maintain homeostasis. It resists change because change feels dangerous to the survival mechanism. So you have to be persistent. You have to practice daily. You have to train your nervous system to default to coherence instead of survival. And eventually, and this is the beautiful part, it becomes automatic. Your body learns to maintain coherent states without conscious effort. You become a walking, breathing, coherent electromagnetic field. And at that point, synchronicities don't feel special anymore. They're just how your life works. Now, let me address the ancient wisdom piece, because Dr. Kushi's genius was in bridging Eastern and Western understanding. The Chinese, thousands of years ago, mapped something they called the Tao, the way, the flow, the underlying pattern of reality. And they understood that reality operates on complementary opposites. They called it yin and yang. Yin is receptive, magnetic, drawing in, contracting, cooling, dark, feminine, parasympathetic nervous system. Yang is projective, electric, pushing out, expanding, warming, light, masculine, sympathetic nervous system. And the Tao, the optimal flow, happens when these two forces are in dynamic balance. Most people in modern culture are stuck in chronic yang, constant doing, striving, forcing, pushing, hustling. Sympathetic nervous system always activated. And they wonder why they're exhausted, why they're sick, why they can't manifest what they want. Because manifestation requires both forces. You need yang intention, the clarity, the direction, the decision of what you want. But you also need yin allowing, the receptivity, the trust, the opening to let it come to you. Dr. Kushi taught a specific practice to balance these forces, and it's based on the microcosmic orbit, which is a Taoist meditation technique. You imagine energy flowing up your spine. That's the yang pathway, called the governing vessel, from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. And then you imagine energy flowing down the front of your body. That's the yin pathway, called the conception vessel, from your crown down through your face, throat, chest, belly, back to the base. And this isn't just visualization. When you do this practice, you're literally balancing your autonomic nervous system. The up-the-back pathway stimulates your sympathetic nervous system. You're activating energy. The down-the-front pathway stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. You're receiving energy. When you practice this daily, cycling your attention through this circuit, your body learns to move fluidly between activation and rest, between striving and allowing, between yang and yin. And that's when manifestation becomes effortless. Not because you stop taking action, but because your action is aligned with the natural flow of energy instead of fighting against it. This is what Kushi called living in coherence with the Tao. And when you're in coherence with the Tao, with the underlying pattern of reality, you're not forcing things to happen. You're riding the current. You're surfing the wave. You're allowing reality to organize around your coherent intention. And here's the paradox that most Western minds struggle with. Effortless effort. Total commitment with zero attachment. You must want what you desire deeply enough to generate strong emotional coherence around it. But you must also be completely okay if it doesn't happen in the timing or form you expect. Because attachment creates energetic contraction, which broadcasts lack, which collapses probability in the direction of not having. This is the razor's edge. This is the mastery. And it's not something you understand intellectually. It's something you embody through practice. You learn to hold intense intention while simultaneously releasing the outcome. And when you can do that, reality bends. Now, let me take you even deeper into the quantum field itself, because this is where science and spirituality become completely indistinguishable. Quantum physicists discovered something in the 1950s that fundamentally changed how we understand reality. They found that empty space isn't empty. What we think of as vacuum, as nothing, is actually seething with virtual particles constantly popping in and out of existence. They called it the zero-point field, or the quantum vacuum, and the amount of energy in this field is staggering. Physicists calculated that a single cubic centimeter of empty space contains more energy than all the solid matter in the known universe. It's called zero-point energy, because even at absolute zero temperature, where all atomic motion theoretically stops, this field is still active, still vibrating with potential. Now, ancient traditions had already mapped this. The Chinese called it qi, the Indians called it prana, the Hawaiians called it mana, the Christians called it the Holy Spirit. Every culture, independently, discovered that there's an invisible, omnipresent energy field that permeates everything and responds to consciousness. And Dr. Kushi's genius was showing that these are the same thing. The zero-point field that quantum physics measures is the qi that acupuncturists work with. It's information-rich, responsive, and conscious. Not conscious like you're conscious, but responsive to consciousness. It's the medium through which consciousness interfaces with matter. Think of it like water for a fish. The fish doesn't think about water because it's so omnipresent. But water is the medium through which the fish moves, breathes, and lives. The zero-point field, the quantum vacuum, qi, whatever you want to call it, is the medium through which your consciousness moves, breathes, and creates. And just like water can be calm or turbulent, coherent or chaotic, the field has different states. And your state of consciousness affects the local state of the field. When you're in coherence, when your heart and brain are synchronized, when your electromagnetic field is organized, you create order in the local quantum field. And that order begins organizing particles and probabilities in alignment with your coherent state. This is why meditation changes reality. Not because you're thinking happy thoughts, but because you're creating a coherent field state that organizes the quantum vacuum. You're literally structuring probability. And here's what's profound. The field contains all possibilities simultaneously. Every potential future, every possible outcome already exists as waves of probability in the quantum field. You're not creating something new. You're selecting which already existing possibility collapses into your experience. And the selection mechanism is your coherent electromagnetic broadcast. You're like a radio tuning into a specific station. All the stations are broadcasting simultaneously, but you only hear the one you're tuned to. And your tuning mechanism is your emotional state, your belief system, your electromagnetic coherence. Most people are tuned to the station of struggle, limitation, and victimhood because that's the frequency they've practiced. That's the neural networks they've wired. That's the emotional state they default to. And so they keep experiencing variations of struggle, limitation, and victimhood, not because that's all that's available, but because that's the station they're tuned to. But you can change the station. That's what these practices do. They retune your nervous system. They shift your electromagnetic broadcast. They change which channel of reality you're receiving. And the quantum field doesn't judge. It doesn't care if you're tuned to struggle or abundance. It just responds to the signal you're sending. It's perfectly neutral, perfectly responsive, infinitely abundant with possibilities. Dr. Kushi spent his life teaching people how to consciously tune their receivers, how to select which probability channel they wanted to experience. And the results were undeniable. People who practiced these techniques consistently reported lives transformed. Not through external manipulation, but through internal coherence creating external reorganization. And that's what got him in trouble. Because when ordinary people start demonstrating that they can consciously influence their reality through coherent intention, they become less dependent on external systems. They stop being predictable consumers. They stop being manageable citizens. They become sovereign. And sovereignty is threatening to any system built on dependence. But here's what nobody can take away from you. Once you experience this directly, once you feel your own field responding to your intention, once you witness synchronicities clustering around your coherent practices, once you see your biology shift in real time as you change your internal state, that becomes your reality. Not a belief, not a theory, your lived experience. And no institution, no authority, no amount of skepticism from others can take that away from you. So let me give you the practices. Let me give you the actual tools that Dr. Kushi and others have refined over decades, so that you can test this in your own life. Because I don't want you to believe me. I want you to experience it. The first practice is what I call the morning coherence protocol, and this is non-negotiable if you're serious about transformation. The first 10 minutes of your day set the electromagnetic signature for the next 4 to 6 hours. Most people wake up, immediately check their phone, flood their nervous system with information and stress, and spend the rest of the morning reacting instead of creating. Here's what you do instead. Before you open your eyes, before you check anything, before you even get out of bed, bring your attention to your heart center. That's literally the middle of your chest. Just place your awareness there and begin breathing slowly. 5-second inhale through your nose, 5-second exhale through your mouth. Don't force it. Just let it be smooth and natural. After about 2 minutes of this, your heart rhythm will begin to cohere. You'll feel it. There's a subtle shift, almost like a softening in your chest. And once you feel that, you're going to add a specific visualization. On your inhale, imagine energy being drawn up your spine from the base all the way to the crown of your head. And on your exhale, Imagine that energy flowing down the front of your body, from your crown, down through your face, throat, chest, belly, back to the base. You're cycling energy through the microcosmic orbit, and you're doing it in coordination with your breath. Up the back on the inhale, that's activating. Down the front on the exhale, that's relaxing. You're balancing yang and yin. You're synchronizing your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Do this for 2 minutes, and then here's the key. You add emotion. You recall a moment of genuine gratitude, not something you think you should be grateful for, something you actually felt grateful for. A moment when you were so filled with appreciation that it overflowed. Maybe it was holding your child. Maybe it was watching a sunset. Maybe it was an unexpected kindness from a stranger. Whatever it was, relive it. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. And let that feeling of gratitude build in your chest. Let it radiate. Let it expand until you can feel it tingling in your fingers and toes. This is not passive. You're actively generating a coherent emotional state. And that state is creating a powerful electromagnetic broadcast. Stay in this state for 3 to 5 minutes. Don't rush it. This is the most important work you'll do all day. You're tuning your antenna, you're setting your frequency, you're programming your field. And then, for the final 5 minutes, you're going to do something most people never do. You're going to live from your future. You're going to imagine your day unfolding, but not from your current state of consciousness. You're going to imagine it from the consciousness of your future self, the version of you that's already living the reality you desire. Close your eyes and step into that future version of you. Don't watch them from the outside. Become them. See through their eyes. Feel what they feel. How do they move through the world? What's their internal dialogue? How do they respond to challenges? What does success feel like in their body? And from that state, imagine your day. See yourself in the meetings, the conversations, the activities you have planned, but see yourself moving through them with the energy, confidence, and clarity of your future self. Feel it. Make it visceral. What you're doing neurologically is profound. Your brain is firing the same neural networks that would fire if you were actually living that reality. You're releasing the same neurochemicals. You're creating the same electromagnetic signature. And your brain, which doesn't know the difference between a richly imagined experience and a real one, begins wiring itself for that reality. You're installing the hardware before the software arrives. You're becoming the person who can receive what you're asking for. And the quantum field responds to who you're being, not what you're wanting. Do this every morning, 10 minutes, non-negotiable. And watch what happens over the next 30 days. Because you're not just visualizing, you're physically reorganizing your nervous system. The second practice is something I call the energy scan. And this is your check-in practice throughout the day. Because here's the problem. You can start your morning in coherence, but then life happens. Traffic, difficult people, stress. And before you know it, you're back in survival mode, broadcasting fear and chaos. So 3 times a day, mid-morning, after lunch, and late afternoon, you're going to pause for 60 seconds and scan your internal state. Stop whatever you're doing. Take a breath and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now in my body? Not what you think you should be feeling, not what you want to be feeling. What are you actually feeling? Is there tension in your shoulders? Is your jaw clenched? Is your breathing shallow? Is there a knot in your stomach? Just notice it, don't judge it, just name it. I notice I'm feeling anxiety. I notice I'm feeling frustration. I notice I'm feeling contracted. Because you cannot change what you're unconscious of. And most people are completely unconscious of their actual emotional state. They're on autopilot, reacting to stimuli, broadcasting incoherent signals and wondering why their reality keeps reflecting stress back at them. So the first step, is awareness. Just noticing, oh, I've been broadcasting stress for the last 3 hours. No wonder I'm attracting stressful situations. And then, once you've noticed, you have a choice. You can consciously shift it. And that's the third practice. The pattern interrupt breath. The moment you catch yourself in an incoherent state, stress, worry, anger, victimhood, you stop. And you're going to do a very specific breathing pattern that will shift your nervous system in 60 seconds. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Deep breath in through your nose for 5 counts, feeling your belly expand first, then your chest. Hold for 5 counts. Slow exhale through your mouth for 7 counts, feeling your chest release first, then your belly. Why this specific pattern? Because the exhale longer than the inhale activates your vagus nerve, which triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. You're literally telling your body, we're safe. We can shift out of survival mode. Do 3 cycles minimum. And on the 4th breath, you're going to add a new feeling. You're going to consciously choose an emotional state. Safety, gratitude, curiosity, power, peace, whatever feels accessible in that moment. And you're going to generate that feeling as you breathe. This isn't positive thinking. This is nervous system regulation. You're using breath as a tool to shift your biology, which shifts your electromagnetic field, which shifts what you're broadcasting, which shifts what you attract. And here's what's powerful. The more you practice this, the faster you get at it. Eventually, you can shift from chaos to coherence in a single breath. Because you're wiring new neural pathways. You're training your nervous system to default to coherence instead of survival. Now, these 3 practices, morning coherence, energy scan, pattern interrupt, are your daily maintenance. They keep you tuned to the right frequency. But if you want to upgrade your baseline, if you want to install a completely new operating system, you need to do deep work. And that's the 4th practice, the future self-installation. Once a week, set aside 20 uninterrupted minutes. Turn off your phone. Find a quiet space. Sit or lie down comfortably with your spine straight. And you're going to go deep. Start with the coherence breathing. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, focused on your heart center. Do this for 5 minutes until you feel that unmistakable shift, that softening, that coherence settling in. And then, once you're coherent, you're going to do something radical. You're going to step completely out of your current identity and into your future self. Not the version of you from tomorrow or next week, the version of you that's already living the reality you desire. The version of you 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, fully embodied in the life you're creating. And you're not going to watch them like a movie. You're going to become them. Step into their body. See through their eyes. Feel what they feel in their chest, their gut, their spine. How does morning feel in this body? What's the quality of their inner dialogue? How do they move through space? What's their relationship to challenge, to success, to other people? Make it specific. Where do they live? What do they see when they open their eyes in the morning? What does their space feel like? Who's in their life? What work are they doing? How do they feel about themselves? And then take them through a day. See them waking up, making breakfast, moving through their routines, having conversations, doing their work, interacting with loved ones. And feel every moment. Make it visceral. Engage all your senses. The key is duration. You need to stay in this state for at least 10 minutes, because neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, requires sustained firing of neural networks. You're literally building new neural pathways. Your brain is creating the wiring for this new reality. Your body is releasing the neurochemistry of this new identity. Your electromagnetic field is broadcasting the signature of this future self. And here's what's happening at the quantum level. You're collapsing probability. The The future you're vividly experiencing already exists as a wave of possibility in the quantum field. And by observing it, by experiencing it with emotional intensity, you're collapsing that wave toward manifestation. You're voting with your consciousness for that probability to become your timeline. Do this weekly. Same day, same time if possible. Because consistency trains your nervous system. Your body starts to expect this state. And eventually the gap between who you are now and who you're becoming closes. Not because you're pretending, because you've installed the neural hardware. You've wired the circuits. You've become coherent with that future version. And when the external opportunity shows up, the job offer, the relationship, the breakthrough, you won't need to wonder if you're ready. You'll already be wired for it. You'll recognize it as belonging to you. And the final practice, this one's subtle but profound. The gratitude rewire. Every evening before sleep, you're going to replay your day, but not chronologically, emotionally. Scan through the entire day and identify 3 moments, just 3, where you felt alive, grateful, expansive, proud, connected, or joyful. They don't have to be big moments. Maybe it was your coffee tasting perfect. Maybe it was a stranger smiling at you. Maybe it was solving a problem at work. Whatever they were, identify them. And then relive each one for 30 seconds. Don't just remember it. Re-experience it. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. Feel what you felt. Let the emotion build. Let it fill your chest. Let it radiate. And then fall asleep from that state. Let those feelings be the last things in your consciousness before you drift off. Why? Because the last thoughts and emotions before sleep deeply imprint the subconscious. You're training your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters what you notice, to look for more moments like these tomorrow. What you appreciate appreciates. This is not just a nice saying. This is neuroscience. Your brain is a pattern-matching machine. Whatever patterns you feed it, it looks for more of those patterns. Most people feed their brain patterns of stress, fear, and lack by ruminating on problems before sleep. And then they wonder why their brain keeps showing them problems all day long. But when you train your brain to notice moments of gratitude, joy, and expansion, it starts filtering reality differently. You're rewiring your perception. And when you perceive differently, you experience differently. So those are your 5 practices. Morning coherence protocol, energy scan, pattern interrupt breath, future self-installation, and gratitude rewire. If you do nothing else, if you implement just these 5 practices consistently for 30 days, your reality will shift. Not might shift. Will shift. Because you'll have reorganized your nervous system. You'll have changed your electromagnetic broadcast. You'll have collapsed different probabilities. This isn't faith. This is technology. This is applied neuroscience meets quantum mechanics meets ancient wisdom. And it works. Now I want to address something directly. Because I know some of you are thinking it. This sounds too good to be true. This sounds like magical thinking. And I get it. I was skeptical too. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about magical thinking. This is about understanding the actual mechanisms of how consciousness interfaces with reality. Magical thinking is believing that if you wish hard enough, the universe will deliver. That's passive. That's fantasy. What I'm teaching you is active. You're changing your internal state, which changes your electromagnetic broadcast, which changes how you interact with the quantum field, which changes which probabilities collapse into your experience. You're not sitting on a couch visualizing money appearing in your bank account. You're rewiring your nervous system to become coherent with abundance, which changes how you show up, which changes what you notice, which changes what opportunities you recognize, which changes what action you take, which changes what results you get. It's causal. It's mechanical. It's just operating at a level most people never consider, the level of energy and information. And yes, it requires faith. But not blind faith. Faith based on practice. faith based on direct experience. You practice these techniques. You notice shifts, small at first, then larger, and that builds evidence. That evidence builds trust, and that trust allows you to practice with more coherence, which creates bigger shifts, which builds more evidence. It's a positive feedback loop. But you have to start. You have to commit to the practice, even when you don't see immediate results, because the results are happening. At the quantum level first, then the biological level, then the physical level. There's a time lag, and that time lag is where commitment is tested. Dr. Kushi taught that the universe has a built-in protection mechanism. If every passing thought instantly manifested, we'd be in constant chaos. So there's a buffer, a delay between broadcast and reception, and that buffer requires sustained coherence. You have to maintain the new frequency longer than you've maintained the old one. If you've been broadcasting fear and lack for 20 years, you might need 6 months of daily practice before the new pattern stabilizes. That's not because you're doing it wrong. That's because your biology has momentum. You're turning a ship, and the bigger the ship, the longer it takes to see the direction change. But once you turn it, once you stabilize the new frequency, reality reorganizes around that new pattern. And then it becomes your new normal. Synchronicities stop being surprising. Opportunities stop feeling lucky. You realize you're not attracting anything. You're broadcasting a frequency, and reality is responding. So let me bring this all together because we've covered a lot of ground. Dr. Michio Kushi discovered, or more accurately, rediscovered and scientifically validated, something ancient wisdom has always taught. You're not a victim of circumstance. You're not a solid object moving through a fixed reality. You're an electromagnetic being, constantly broadcasting signals, constantly interacting with a responsive quantum field, constantly collapsing waves of probability into experiences. And the reason this knowledge got suppressed is simple. It threatens every system built on human dependency. Medical systems that profit from sickness, economic systems that require consumers to feel lacking, political systems that need citizens to feel powerless, educational systems that teach people to wait for experts to tell them what's true. When you understand you're a conscious electromagnetic broadcaster capable of organizing your own reality through coherent intention, you become sovereign. You stop waiting for permission. You stop accepting limitations imposed by others. You become dangerous to control. And that's exactly what you should become. But with power comes responsibility. You can't blame anyone else anymore. You can't say life is happening to you. You have to acknowledge that life is happening through you, in response to you, as a reflection of you. And that's terrifying at first, because it means you're responsible for your experience. But it's also the most liberating truth you'll ever encounter. Because if you're responsible, you have power. You can change the broadcast. You can shift the frequency. You can collapse different probabilities. Your past doesn't define your future unless you keep energizing it with your attention. Your circumstances don't limit you unless you accept them as permanent. Your body isn't a fixed machine. It's a dynamic field of information, responding to your conscious and unconscious broadcasting every single moment. You are not broken. You've just been broadcasting the wrong frequency. You are not powerless. You've just been unconscious of your own field. You are not waiting for your life to change. You are the change, condensing from waves of possibility into form, breath by breath, choice by choice, practice by practice. And your past conditioning does not define your future potential unless you keep feeding it energy through repetitive thought and feeling. Listen, I know this is a lot. I know this challenges everything you've been taught about how reality works. And that's okay, you don't have to believe any of this. But I'm asking you to test it. Commit to these practices for 30 days. Just 30 days. Practice the morning coherence protocol. Do the energy scans. Use the pattern interrupt breath when you catch yourself in incoherence. Install your future self weekly. Rewire your gratitude nightly. And pay attention. Notice what shifts. Notice the synchronicities. Notice the opportunities. Notice how people respond to you differently. Notice how your body feels. Notice how your thoughts change. Notice how your circumstances begin reorganizing. You don't have to take my word for it, Dr. Kushi's word for it, or anyone else's word for it. Become your own scientist. Run the experiment. You're the laboratory. Your life is the petri dish. And these practices are the methodology. And when you start seeing results, and you will, if you practice consistently, then you'll know. Not from belief, but from direct experience. And that knowledge, that embodied understanding, nobody can take that from you. No institution, no authority, no skeptic, because you'll have proved it to yourself. So here's what I want you to do right now. If this resonated with you, if something in you recognized truth in what I shared, I want you to leave a comment. Tell me which practice you're committing to first. Because when you declare something publicly, your brain treats it differently. You're making it real. You're activating accountability. You're collapsing the probability of you actually doing it. And if this information felt forbidden, if it felt like knowledge you weren't supposed to have, hit that like button. Because every like tells the algorithm that people are hungry for this, that people are ready for truth that empowers instead of pacifies, that we're done being fed information that keeps us small and dependent. And subscribe, because this is just the beginning. I've got more suppressed knowledge to share, more bridges between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science, more tools for reclaiming your sovereignty, more truth about who you really are and what you're actually capable of. You are a quantum event, continuously happening. You are an electromagnetic field, constantly broadcasting. You are consciousness interfacing with the zero-point field, collapsing infinite possibilities into singular experiences. And the moment you truly understand that, not intellectually, but experientially, in your bones, in your nervous system, everything changes. Your reality is waiting for you to broadcast clearly. The field is responsive. The quantum realm is listening. Your future self is already there, waiting for you to become coherent with them. So let's do this. Let's reclaim the power that's always been yours. Let's remember what Dr. Kushi and the ancient masters knew. You're not here to be small. You're not here to be powerless. You're not here to wait for someone else to change your life. You're here to become conscious, to become coherent, to become the deliberate architect of your reality. And that work starts now. Today, this moment. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay coherent, stay conscious, and remember, you're not broken. You've just been broadcasting the wrong frequency. And now you know how to change the station. The quantum field is waiting. Your future is waiting. And you are so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. Let's go.